The galaxy was silent, except for the whispers of alien civilizations mocking humanity. They called humans primitive, fragile, and unworthy of the stars. For 10,000 years, alien empires ruled unchecked, devouring planets, enslaving species, and crushing resistance without mercy. The United Terran Federation, what remained of humanity, was a shadow isolated on the blue planet they called Earth. But humans had a stubborn thing called hope, and a sharper thing called ingenuity. Commander Elena Voss looked out of the viewport of the last surviving Terran capital ship, Aegis. Outside, the black void glittered with alien fleets, hundreds of vessels, their designs bizarre, angular, almost insectal. The Hylar Dominion, one of the galaxy's most feared empires, was advancing. They believed they would finish humanity off in a single strike. "Status report," Elena barked. Her voice was calm, precise, but it carried the steel of unyielding resolve. Lieutenant Kieran Malik, the ship's tactical officer, replied, "Shields at 70%, weapons offline. Our main fleet is gone, Commander. The Hylar Vanguard will reach our orbit in 63 seconds. Elena's eyes narrowed. "Then let's make every second count." The ship shuddered as the first Hylar attack drones pierced the outer defense ring. Bolts of iridescent energy tore through space, fragmenting satellites and debris. The crew fought in silence, disciplined, each movement a blend of training and instinct. Humans had lost the war on Earth decades ago, but not their will to survive. Suddenly, the communication panel blinked. A deep, resonant voice filled the room, tinged with alien amusement. "Humans, pathetic, insignificant. Surrender, and your extinction will be merciful." Elena's fingers hovered over the comm interface. She took a deep breath and pressed the response. "Extinction is something humans give to others, not themselves." There was a pause. Then a sharp alien laugh. It grated against the human ears. "You will die, weakling. The galaxy does not forgive folly." Elena turned to her crew. "Prepare for emergency maneuver Delta 9. Engage now." The Aegis twisted violently, weaving between volleys of alien fire. But humanity's survival depended not on brute force. They had a plan. Hidden deep within the ship was the prototype Terran phase reactor, a technology scavenged and reverse-engineered from the ruins of ancient alien designs. It could bend gravity around a vessel, allowing instantaneous microjumps through space. If deployed correctly, it could disrupt enemy formations before they realized what happened. "Microjump sequence ready," Malik confirmed, beads of sweat on his brow. "But if we miscalculate, we'll tear ourselves apart." Elena's gaze hardened. "Then calculate perfectly. We don't have another chance." The countdown began. 1, 2, 3. The Aegis shimmered, reality bending around its hull. In an instant, it vanished from the Hylar sensors. Alien commanders screamed in frustration as their perfectly coordinated attack faltered. The humans reappeared behind the Vanguard, striking with precise surgical energy beams. Entire enemy cruisers disintegrated before they could react. "By the stars," Malik whispered. "They weren't expecting us," Elena finished. "Exactly." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other human settlements that had survived the initial invasions were watching the battle unfold through secret communication channels. Fear turned into awe. Whispers spread, "Humans fight differently. Humans survive differently. Humans win." But the victory was only temporary. For every Hylar cruiser destroyed, 2 more would arrive. Humanity was still the hunted, the underestimated. And yet, for the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to notice. On the Hylar command ship, Supreme Warlord Kroth banged his clawed hand on the control console. How can one species defy 10,000 years of domination?" His advisors trembled. "Eliminate them now." "Supreme Warlord," one cautious lieutenant said, "these humans, they are unpredictable. Their tactics are unlike anything in recorded history. They adapt faster than our intelligence can track." Kroth hissed, his voice thick with rage. "Then we will adapt faster. Crush them. Show the galaxy that no species escapes Hylar rule." Back on Earth, Elena convened the surviving council of Terran leaders. The room was dim, lit by flickering holographic maps of the galaxy. "The galaxy believes us weak," Elena said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "Let's give them a new story. Not one of surrender, not one of defeat, but of humanity's rise. We will strike where they least expect. We will survive, and we will dominate." The council members exchanged uncertain glances, but the spark of belief was in every eye. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries. Now they would show why the galaxy had feared their name in whispers. Outside, the stars watched silently. A war that had seemed lost before it began was about to be rewritten, by the species no one ever expected to win. And so humanity's last stand began, not with despair but with cunning, courage, and the cold, unstoppable precision of apex survivors. The galaxy had never seen a species like humanity. By the time the Aegis had executed its first daring strike against the Hylar vanguard, alien empires had begun to whisper in fear. But whispers were fragile. Action was what mattered. Humanity had to strike again, harder, smarter, and deeper into the heart of enemy space. On Earth, in the subterranean command center beneath the ruins of New York, Terran leaders convened with Elena Voss at the head. The holographic map of the Hylar Dominion flickered in the dim light, showing star systems under alien control. Red pulses marked Hylar fleets converging toward human-held sectors. The humans were few, but what they lacked in numbers they made up in ingenuity and strategy. Supreme Chancellor Reyes, Elena began, her tone steady, the Hylar believe our strength is in our ships. They are wrong. Our strength is in our minds. Every battle, every maneuver will exploit their arrogance. Chancellor Reyes, a man whose face was lined with the weight of generations, nodded. Then we hit them where they least expect. Not just on the battlefield, in their minds. Psychological warfare. Deception. Fear. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, on the bridge of the Hylar flagship Zerath Prime, Supreme Warlord Kroth seethed. Reports poured in. Entire fleets wiped out, alien colonies burning from seemingly invisible strikes. The humans were ghosts. No pattern, no predictability, only ruthless precision. His advisors trembled under his gaze. They do not follow logic, one said quietly. Their actions are chaotic yet effective. It is terrifying. Kroth hissed, claws tapping against his console. Chaos is a human trait, he admitted begrudgingly. Then we will crush the chaos. Eliminate the humans before they grow stronger. Elena's strategy was simple but brilliant. Humanity had learned long ago that they could not match the Hylar in fleet size. Instead, they would wage a war of shadows, strike first, vanish, then strike again. Using the phase reactor's microjump capabilities, human ships could appear deep within enemy territories, destroy vital installations, then vanish before the Hylar even realized what had happened. The first strike target, Kroth's logistics hub orbiting the gas giant Thalar 9. Destroy it and supply lines collapse. Without supplies, alien fleets cannot function. Elena's small fleet of 10 ships jumped into Hylar space silently, bypassing sensor grids and war patrols. The stars blurred around them as the phase reactor hummed with raw energy. When they emerged, the hub hung like a jewel in the void, massive and defended by dozens of cruisers. Do not underestimate them, Malik warned, scanning the enemy formation. They will react instantly if we make noise. Elena's lips curled into a determined smile. Then we give them noise they won't forget. Human ships split into 3 groups, each performing maneuvers the Hylar could not anticipate. Fighters darted like shadows between capital ships, striking engines and weapon turrets. Explosions bloomed in the gas giant's orbit as human precision torpedoes tore through the hub's core. Impossible, a Hylar commander screamed as alarms blared across the hub. How can 10 ships destroy a fortress this size? Human ingenuity, Kroth growled through clenched teeth. They are monsters hidden in weakness. As the hub disintegrated, Elena sent a transmission directly to Kroth, the human flag waving defiantly across encrypted channels. Your empire is brittle, her voice echoed coldly. And humans are the hammer. Kroth's eyes blazed. You will regret those words, he roared, his voice shaking the bridge of the Zerath Prime. Send the entire 7th Armada to intercept. Leave nothing behind. Back on Earth, the Council observed the destruction in real time. Cheers erupted, but Elena remained silent, knowing this was only the first blow. They will respond with overwhelming force, she said. Our survival depends on outthinking them at every step. Predictability is death. Creativity is life. The following weeks were a blur of daring raids, intelligence operations, and psychological games. Human operatives infiltrated alien colonies, spreading misinformation. Entire Hylar sectors were thrown into chaos as commanders doubted their allies, fearing phantom attacks. Meanwhile, human engineers adapted alien technology on the fly, converting captured drones and weapons into tools of war. In the Alien High Council, Kroth faced his advisors in fury. These humans are not just soldiers. They are predators. They think differently. They adapt faster than our intelligence networks can track. How do we fight something we cannot predict? One senior advisor whispered, trembling. Perhaps, diplomacy? Perhaps we negotiate. Croth bared his fangs. Negotiation is for the weak. We will crush them or the galaxy will remember a new name, human. But the galaxy was already remembering. Traders, scientists, and minor civilizations whispered in secret. The humans, they fight differently. They survive differently. Perhaps they are something more. On a frozen outpost at the edge of the Sol system, young cadets watched Elena's strategies broadcast through underground channels. They trained harder, studied faster, inspired by a species that had risen from extinction to challenge the stars themselves. The war had begun in whispers, became a storm in shadows, and now the galaxy was trembling under the weight of human ingenuity. And yet, even as humans celebrated small victories, Elena knew the true test lay ahead. The Hylar would not fall easily. They had fleets, worlds, and the arrogance of millennia behind them. Humanity had brains, cunning, and the unyielding spark of survival. And that spark, small, fragile, and human, would ignite the galaxy. The galaxy had begun to take notice. Humans were no longer the weak, pitiful species that alien empires dismissed. Each strike, each daring raid was a message. We survive, we adapt, we dominate. Supreme Warlord Croth's patience had worn thin. The destruction of the Thalar 9 logistics hub had been a humiliation. Entire fleets were sent to track the humans, yet each pursuit ended in disaster. The humans vanished like ghosts, leaving nothing but scorched metal and shattered alien egos behind. On the bridge of the Aegis, Commander Elena Voss surveyed the holographic map of the Thalar system. Her fleet had grown. 10 ships had become 30, then 50, as surviving human colonies sent reinforcements through hidden warp corridors. Intel confirms the Hylar 7th Armada is regrouping, Lieutenant Malik reported. They're converging on the Clyder asteroid belt. It's a trap. Elena's eyes glimmered. Good. Then we will give them fire. The plan was audacious. Using the phase reactor's microjumps, human forces would appear behind the Hylar fleet, cutting off retreat routes while secondary fleets attacked from multiple vectors. Alien commanders had never seen such coordination, fast, fluid, and unpredictable. As human ships leaped into the Clyder belt, the Hylar were waiting, but only half prepared. Explosions lit the void as human torpedoes struck engine cores and weapon batteries. Entire cruiser wings were annihilated in minutes. Impossible, a Hylar captain shrieked. How do they anticipate every move? They are humans, Croth hissed, rage in his voice. And humans are monsters. In the chaos, Elena transmitted a direct message to Croth, her voice calm, almost taunting. Supreme Warlord, your empire underestimates us. That was your first mistake. There won't be a second. Croth slammed his claws against the console. Kill them. Leave nothing. Meanwhile, in the diplomatic corridors of the galaxy, alien civilizations whispered about humans in fear and awe. Traders, smugglers, and even scientists began reaching out to Terran colonies, not for war but for knowledge. Humans had become a symbol not just of survival but of something greater. Apex intelligence and adaptability. On the ice world of Navara 3, Ambassador Celine Drey studied intercepted Hylar communications. They fear us, she said quietly to her team. Not because of power but because they cannot understand us. Every move is different. Every strike unpredictable. Humans, they are the ultimate variable. Even among humans the tension was high. Victory came at a cost. Supplies were scarce and every engagement risked annihilation. Cadets trained around the clock, engineers worked tirelessly to adapt alien tech, and commanders like Elena carried the burden of decisions that meant life or death for thousands. During a lull between battles, Elena convened a council aboard the Aegis. We cannot simply fight, she warned. The Hylar are relentless. We need allies. We need intelligence. And above all, we need the galaxy to see that humanity is not to be trifled with. Chancellor Reyes nodded gravely. Then we strike their hearts, politically and strategically. We show them that humans are not just survivors but rulers. The next target was daring, the Hylar communication nexus on the desert planet Rythus. Destroy it, and alien fleets across the galaxy would be blind, forced to act blindly and hesitantly. Humans could dictate the pace of war. Elena led the strike personally, her fleet slicing through asteroid fields, dodging Hylar patrols with unprecedented skill. They dropped from hyperspace in the planet's orbit, fighters swarming like shadows. Humans had learned to fight in ways aliens could not predict, coordinated yet chaotic, flexible yet precise. As the Nexus exploded, alarms rang across the galaxy. Hylar fleets scrambled, commanders shouted orders into voids of confusion. The humans were gone again, leaving devastation and uncertainty behind. In the aftermath, Elena sent a final message to the galaxy. Humans will no longer hide. We are the storm you cannot see, the shadow you cannot track, and the fire that will consume all who underestimate us. Remember this. Back on the Zerath Prime, Kroth glared at his officers. The humans, they are no longer just a problem. They are a threat to the entire empire. Prepare the full arsenal. No mercy. No hesitation. And in hidden corners of the galaxy, alien diplomats approached Terran operatives, hoping to understand the humans before it was too late. They spoke of the courage, the cunning, and the unmatched adaptability of humanity. Even as the Hylar amassed their might, the humans were already steps ahead. Every victory bred confidence, and every defeat they avoided was a lesson learned. The galaxy was changing. Slowly, inexorably, the whispered fear of humanity began to ripple through the stars. Elena looked out at the void, her reflection mirrored against the stars. "We are not just surviving," she murmured. "We are rewriting the rules. And the galaxy will learn to fear what it cannot understand." The war had escalated from survival to dominance. Every battle, every raid, every bold move reminded the galaxy, humanity was no ordinary species. They were apex strategists, relentless survivors, and the ultimate variable in a universe built for predictability. And the humans were only beginning to show their true strength. The galaxy was changing. Where once humans were mocked and dismissed, now their name was whispered in fear and awe. Entire star systems had fallen under the shadow of human ingenuity, and the Hylar Empire, which had ruled unchallenged for 10 millennia, now faced a threat it could not fully comprehend. Commander Elena Voss stood aboard the flagship Aegis, orbiting the outer rim of the Hylar home system, a cluster of jagged worlds bathed in eerie green light. The humans had done the impossible. They had survived, adapted, and now they prepared to strike directly at the heart of the alien empire. Lieutenant Kieran Malik, ever vigilant, scanned the void. "The Hylar fleet is massive, Commander. At least 200 warships, all converging on the inner rim. Sensors show orbital defenses are offline, for now. They're expecting a feint. But this is no feint." Elena's eyes narrowed. "They will believe what they want. That is their weakness. We'll exploit it." The plan was audacious. Using intelligence gathered from spies, captured ships, and hacked networks, the Terran fleet would infiltrate Hylar space, strike key command hubs, and disrupt the chain of command. It was a move no alien strategist would anticipate. Humans were attacking the center, not just skirmishing at the edges. As the Aegis and its escort fleet advanced, the stars seemed to stretch and warp around the phase reactor's microjump fields. Entire formations blinked in and out of sight, appearing behind Hylar cruisers, crippling engines, severing weapons arrays. Alien fleets floundered in confusion, unable to adapt to tactics that defied every expectation. On the bridge of the Hylar flagship Zerath Prime, Supreme Warlord Kroth slammed his claws against the console. "They are everywhere. How do 10,000 humans, no, how do thousands of humans, move like shadows?" Supreme Warlord, one of his advisors stammered, "Their fleet, it's growing. Other systems report humans coordinating attacks across multiple sectors simultaneously. We cannot contain them." Kroth's mandibles clicked sharply. "Then we will destroy every human world in our path. Crush their colonies. Leave nothing for them to survive on." But the humans were already steps ahead. On Rythus Prime, Terran operatives infiltrated and seized communication arrays, sending false messages to the Hylar High Command. Fleets were redirected, positions misreported, and entire squadrons found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Elena transmitted a message directly to Kroth. "Supreme Warlord, every move you make plays into our strategy. Humans do not fight like you expect. We fight like you cannot predict." Kroth's response was rage-filled. "Then we will predict. We will anticipate. We will crush you and the stars will remember Hylar dominance." The humans had also begun to leverage diplomacy. Minor alien factions, long oppressed by the Hylar, secretly began supplying intelligence and material aid. A coalition of smugglers, traders, and exiles provided Terran operatives with maps, fleet positions, and alien technology. Humanity was no longer just a military force. It had become a symbol, a spark that ignited resistance across the galaxy. During a lull in battle, Elena convened the fleet command. "Our goal is not just survival. It is control. If we can destabilize the Hylar command structure, we can dictate the terms of war. Every ship, Every strike, every signal must be part of a larger plan. The galaxy must see that humans are apex strategists, that no one can predict us. The first major offensive into Hylar Heart space began at the volcanic world of Thraxon. The planet's surface was covered with molten lava and towering spires of obsidian. Orbiting stations bristled with anti-spacecraft batteries and energy cannons. Yet humans approached not with brute force but with ingenuity. Using captured Hylar drones and modified propulsion systems, small human strike teams penetrated the planetary defenses, targeting shield generators. Fighter squadrons darted between molten eruptions, invisible on alien sensors until torpedoes struck critical points. Explosions illuminated the sky, casting brief, fiery shadows on the jagged terrain below. Simultaneously, the Aegis and its escort fleet engaged Hylar orbital cruisers. The humans fought with precision, each maneuver exploiting weaknesses only they could see. Within hours, the orbital defenses of Thraxon were obliterated, leaving the Hylar fleet in chaos. And then, in a move that shocked even the bravest human officers, Elena ordered a microjump inside the central command hub orbiting the planet. The Aegis blinked into existence among Hylar dreadnoughts. With surgical precision, torpedoes tore through the core systems, destroying communication nodes and navigation arrays. The flagship of the Hylar fleet spun uncontrollably, now as vulnerable as any Terran vessel. Krotha's fury reached a boiling point. They have penetrated my command. How is this possible? Elena's voice echoed across the void. Because humans do not fight by your rules, Supreme Warlord. And humans will not be broken. The aftermath of the assault sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Hylar fleets retreated, alien colonies panicked, and whispers spread. The humans are not only surviving, they are taking the fight to the heart of the Empire. And on Earth, in the hidden command centers, humanity celebrated, but only briefly. Elena knew the war was far from over. The Hylar Empire was vast, its reach nearly unmatched. Yet for the first time in millennia, humanity had not only survived, they had dictated the terms of battle. The galaxy would remember this day. The humans were no longer shadows in the void. They were predators in the darkness, and the stars themselves would bend to their cunning, resilience, and indomitable spirit. The galaxy trembled. Humanity was no longer the species the Hylar and other alien civilizations had once dismissed. With each daring strike, every clever maneuver, humans had proven they were unpredictable, relentless, and deadly. Entire Hylar fleets had been shattered, and whispers of human cunning spread through the stars like wildfire. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Aegis, orbiting the strategic planet of Valar Prime, a hub of the Hylar supply chain. Her fleet had grown to nearly 100 ships, small in number compared to the Hylar war armadas, but each vessel was coordinated with meticulous precision. Every fighter, cruiser, and torpedo was a part of a grand plan, humanity's masterpiece. Commander, Lieutenant Malik said, tension thick in his voice, Hylar intelligence reports a massive concentration of their 12th Armada approaching. They suspect we will strike Valar. They've assembled every available cruiser and dreadnought. Estimates suggest at least 300 vessels. Elena's eyes hardened. Good. Let them come. They will face what they cannot see coming. Her strategy relied on deception, not brute force. Using holographic decoys, electronic warfare, and the microjump capabilities of the phase reactor, the human fleet would appear in multiple locations at once. Hylar commanders, relying on numbers and predictability, would fall into traps carefully laid across orbit and the surrounding asteroid fields. As the Hylar Armada entered the system, the humans executed their plan flawlessly. Small bands of fighters struck from unexpected angles, crippling engines and severing communications. Torpedo salvos tore through the heart of the enemy line. But the real shock came when the Aegis and its escort fleet vanished from view, only to reappear directly inside the Hylar formation. Explosions erupted in space as dreadnoughts were destroyed from within. Alien commanders screamed into voids of communication. Impossible. They are everywhere at once. On the bridge of the Zerath Prime, Supreme Warlord Kroth bellowed in fury. They are ghosts. They do not follow the rules. They are monsters. Elena's voice rang across encrypted channels. Come. Controlled. We are humans, Supreme Warlord. We survive. We adapt. And we will not be defeated. The Battle of Valar Prime was brutal, but every strike had been planned to maximize Hylar losses while minimizing human casualties. By the end of the engagement, the 12th Armada was shattered. Hylar fleets fled, systems fell into chaos, and alien morale collapsed. Yet humanity did not pause to celebrate. Elena convened the fleet command in orbit. This victory is only the beginning. The Hylar Empire is wounded, but it is far from broken. They will strike back with everything they have. Our next move must secure our advantage and destabilize them further. We cannot fight them head-on forever. The plan was bold. Using captured Hylar communication arrays, humans transmitted forged messages, sparking distrust and paranoia among alien leaders. One faction was convinced another had betrayed them. Entire fleets were redeployed to counter phantom threats, leaving critical sectors vulnerable. Meanwhile, humans made alliances, temporary, secret, opportunistic, with minor alien species who had long chafed under Hylar rule. These factions provided intelligence, additional firepower, and access to hidden warp corridors. Humanity was no longer just a military force. They had become the center of a growing coalition. Amid the preparations, Elena addressed her officers personally. We are not only fighting ships and weapons. We are fighting the galaxy's perception. Every victory, every clever strike, every message we send shapes how the stars will see humanity. We will not be seen as weak. We will be seen as apex. Unpredictable. Unstoppable. And the galaxy began to see. Systems once enslaved by the Hylar now considered tentative allegiances with humans. Traders began smuggling supplies to Terran forces, scientists shared knowledge, and even minor fleets began to emulate human tactics, learning to think unpredictably. The humans' next strike targeted the Hylar command hub on the planet Kryvos, where the Empire coordinated its fleets and defenses. Intelligence suggested Kroth would be present. This was humanity's opportunity to strike at the very heart of the alien empire. The approach was silent, deliberate. Phase reactor microjumps allowed human ships to appear in the orbit of Kryvos undetected. Fighters swarmed the defenses, cutting power lines and disabling shields. Torpedoes struck key systems with unerring precision. The human fleet executed maneuvers that defied alien logic, collapsing the orbital defense grid in mere hours. Kroth realized too late that he had been outmaneuvered yet again. The humans were not just fighting, they were orchestrating chaos on a scale no Hylar mind could fully grasp. On the planet below, ground teams disrupted planetary defenses and communications, ensuring that when the orbital fleet struck, the command hub would be isolated. By the time the Hylar realized the extent of the human attack, it was already too late. Kryvos' orbit was in flames, the command hub obliterated, and the Hylar Empire's control over its fleet was in tatters. Elena transmitted a final message to Kroth, her tone cold and unwavering. Supreme Warlord, your empire was built on arrogance and predictability. That is why you failed. Humanity does not follow rules. Humanity does not surrender. And humanity does not die. The galaxy watched in awe. Humanity, once considered weak and primitive, had shattered the core of the Hylar Armada and struck directly at their leadership. The tide of war had turned decisively, and every star system now questioned whether the Hylar Empire could survive at all. As Elena looked out at the burning orbit of Kryvos, she knew the final phase of the war was approaching. The Hylar would not surrender quietly, but neither would humanity. The war for the galaxy's soul had reached its tipping point, and humans, cunning, relentless, and unmatched, were in control. The galaxy was trembling. Humanity had shattered fleets, destroyed key command hubs, and exposed the Hylar Empire's weaknesses. Where once humans had been dismissed as weak and primitive, now they were the apex predators of the stars, calculating, ruthless, and unstoppable. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Aegis, gazing at the heart of the Hylar Empire, the crimson sun of Kirith Prime, around which the Hylar's main fleet and capital stations were arrayed like jagged teeth. Every star in the system was a potential battlefield, every asteroid a hidden ambush point. The final siege would determine not just the war but the fate of the galaxy. Lieutenant Kieran Malik's voice was tight with tension. Commander, their fleet is massive. Hundreds of dreadnoughts, cruisers, and strike carriers. They've centralized all defenses here. If we attack head-on, we will be annihilated. Elena's eyes were steel. Then we won't attack head-on. That is exactly what they expect. We will strike where they least anticipate, divide their forces, and exploit their arrogance. Humans do not fight their battles as others do, we will fight theirs differently. Across the galaxy, Supreme Warlord Kroth raged on the bridge of the Zerath Prime. They have toppled everything I built, he snarled, claws slamming against the console. The humans, they are monsters. Gather the entire fleet. Do not leave a single world untouched. Crush them before they can strike again. But the humans were already inside his mind, anticipating every move. Using phase reactor microjumps, electronic countermeasures, and falsified intelligence, they had fragmented the Hylar fleet's coordination. Dreadnoughts fired at empty space, energy beams tore through decoy formations, and commanders found themselves isolated, unable to communicate with each other. Elena's strike plan was audacious. While one fleet engaged the Hylar in orbit, human infiltrators used captured alien vessels to sabotage warp gates, power grids, and shield generators across multiple planets. Every attack weakened the Hylar's capacity to respond, making their overwhelming numbers irrelevant. Microjump vectors are ready, Malik reported, beads of sweat on his brow. This maneuver, if it fails, will destroy the fleet. Elena's lips curved into a confident smile. Then it must not fail. Humanity doesn't gamble, we calculate. Execute. The Aegis and its escort fleet vanished from sensors, only to reappear behind the Hylar line. Explosions tore through capital ships, chain reactions obliterated entire cruisers, and fighters swarmed like predatory shadows. The Hylar fleet, though vast, was paralyzed by human unpredictability. In the chaos, Elena sent a direct message to Croth. Come. Cold. Unyielding. Supreme Warlord, you built your empire on arrogance and predictability. That is why you have fallen. Humanity does not follow rules. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not die. Croth's roar echoed through the void. You will not survive this, human. I will see your extinction. But humanity's strength was not in arrogance. It was in unity, strategy, and adaptability. Across the system, Terran forces struck every weak point simultaneously. The Hylar homeworld's planetary shields faltered under coordinated orbital bombardment, while sabotage teams dismantled energy grids. Supply lines were severed, reinforcements isolated, and command nodes destroyed. On Kirith Prime, civilians, both alien and human, watched as the impossible unfolded. Ships that had once been considered fragile now outmaneuvered and destroyed Imperial dreadnoughts. Entire battle groups vanished only to reappear in critical positions. Alien morale crumbled as the full scale of humanity's cunning became apparent. Within hours, the Hylar flagship Zerath Prime was surrounded. Human torpedoes struck the core, crippling engines and severing shields. Croth's final defense grid fell. The warlord realized too late that the humans had outsmarted him at every step. Elena Voss, you have outmaneuvered the Empire, Croth hissed into the void. But this is not the end. Elena's voice echoed across the battlefield. It is the end for your empire, Supreme Warlord. Humanity survives. Humanity dominates. And the galaxy remembers your arrogance. With precise timing, human forces delivered the final strike. The Zerath Prime erupted in a blinding flash, the flagship's destruction sending shockwaves through the Hylar fleet. Panic spread. Remaining ships scattered, many surrendering or retreating. The once mighty Hylar Empire lay in ruins. And yet, humanity did not exterminate blindly. Instead, they offered terms of surrender to surviving alien civilizations. The galaxy does not belong to one species, Elena broadcasted. We survive because we adapt, because we are cunning, because we fight together. Now the galaxy can thrive under a new order, an order guided by strength, wisdom, and unity. For the first time in 10,000 years, the stars were free from tyranny. Humanity had survived the unthinkable, rising from the ashes of near extinction to command the respect and fear of the galaxy. On Earth and across human colonies, celebrations erupted. Yet Elena knew the real victory was deeper. The galaxy now recognized humanity's apex status. Humans were not merely survivors, they were architects of a new era. Croth, stripped of command and facing the remnants of his empire, was exiled to the outer void. The Hylar who remained understood, painfully, that the galaxy had shifted irrevocably. Humans had demonstrated what no other species had: resilience, intelligence, cunning, and unmatched adaptability. As Elena stood on the bridge of the Aegis, gazing out at the liberated stars, she whispered, "We are humans. We endure. We adapt. We rise. And the galaxy will never forget us." The war was over. The humans had survived, thrived, and ascended. Their name would echo across the stars for millennia, a testament to ingenuity, courage, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. The galaxy had learned a truth it could never unlearn. Humans were apex predators in the cosmic arena. The stars were quiet. The war had ended. The Hylar Empire, once an unstoppable force of conquest and terror, lay in ruins. Its fleets scattered, its leaders defeated, its systems liberated, or cautiously allied with humanity. The galaxy, which had mocked and dismissed humans for millennia, now bowed to their ingenuity, adaptability, and indomitable spirit. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Aegis, the flagship of the Terran fleet, gazing out at the liberated Hylar home system. Kirith Prime, once a fortress of alien power, now floated in relative peace, its orbit teeming with human and allied ships maintaining order. The stars seemed almost to shimmer in acknowledgement of humanity's triumph. Lieutenant Kiran Malik, ever the pragmatist, spoke softly. "It's over. The Hylar Empire is finished." Elena's eyes did not leave the void. Finished? Perhaps. But the galaxy is vast. Power is never permanent. Our victory is a beginning, not an end. Humans survive, humans endure, humans lead. Across the newly liberated sectors, alien civilizations were reacting to humanity's unprecedented rise. Traders, scientists, and diplomats who had once laughed at humanity now approached Terran forces with respect, or fear. Secret alliances that had aided humans during the war revealed themselves, offering knowledge, technology, and trade routes. On Kirith Prime, the surviving Hylar leaders were brought before Elena. Supreme Warlord Kroth, humbled and broken, knelt before her in acknowledgement. "You are not like any species I have known," he admitted, voice shaking. "Humans, you are monsters, and gods." Elena regarded him coldly, yet with measured authority. "Humans are neither monsters nor gods. We are survivors. We adapt. We think. We endure. That is enough." The galaxy watched as humanity's terms were simple yet transformative. Hylar and other alien civilizations would retain their autonomy but must respect the collective order established by humanity and its allies. No more tyranny. No more unchecked conquest. A new era had begun, governed by intelligence, fairness, and the guiding hand of apex strategy. In the Terran command chambers, Chancellor Reyes addressed the surviving council. "The galaxy now sees the truth. Humans are apex strategists, capable of survival, ingenuity, and leadership beyond any other known species. But this power comes with responsibility. We will not dominate with fear but with wisdom. Humanity must lead, not as conquerors but as guardians of order." Elena smiled, quietly proud. "We have fought, we have endured, and we have proven ourselves. The galaxy will remember our name, not for cruelty, not for submission, but for resilience and brilliance." Even among ordinary humans the story spread quickly. From the frozen worlds of Nivara 3 to the asteroid colonies of the Outer Rim, citizens celebrated, but also reflected. Humanity had survived extinction, had outsmarted countless alien civilizations, and had risen to a position no one had predicted. Stories of cunning strikes, microjumps, and audacious raids became legend. Children trained to become officers dreamed not just of adventure, but of strategy, intelligence, and leadership. Meanwhile, across alien worlds, whispers filled corridors and marketplaces. Humans are not to be underestimated. Humans think differently. Humans survive differently. Some fled to safe corners of the galaxy, while others began sending emissaries to learn from the apex species they had once scorned. Humanity had reshaped perception itself, instilling awe, fear, and admiration simultaneously. As peace settled over the liberated systems, Elena convened a final address to the fleet. The assembled humans, veterans of the most impossible war in galactic history, stood at attention. Ships glimmered in orbit, reflecting the light of distant stars. "Today," Elena said, her voice echoing across the bridge intercoms, "we stand not merely as survivors, but as architects of the galaxy's future. We have faced overwhelming odds, been dismissed and underestimated, and yet here we are. Humans endure. Humans adapt. Humans dominate, not through arrogance but through brilliance and courage. Let every civilization in the galaxy remember this. Humanity is the apex species, and we will shape the stars for generations to come." The fleet erupted in unified cheer, a sound of triumph and determination. For the first time, humanity was not a species under threat. It was a force of destiny capable of unmatched creativity, strategy, and leadership. In orbit above Earth, the Aegis lingered, a symbol of survival and supremacy. Below, the blue planet shimmered with life, hope, and the indomitable spirit of its people. The galaxy had mocked humanity, dismissed them, and assumed they were weak. But humans had survived, fought, and outsmarted 1,000 threats. They had risen from the brink of extinction to become masters of strategy, unrivaled in cunning and adaptability, and guardians of a new era. And as the stars stretched endlessly into the void, humanity's legacy began, not as mere conquerors but as apex survivors, thinkers, and leaders. The galaxy would never forget them. The human era had begun.